Hey everyone, and welcome to Writing Our Way Out, the podcast. This is a show about writing your way toward the true core of life. My name is Dave Coogan, and this show is based on the book, Writing Our Way Out, Memoirs from Jail, the creative culmination of a writing class that I started at the Richmond City Jail and that grew into a journey of reentry with 10 men. One of those men is with us here tonight, Kelvin Belton. Welcome back to the show, Kelvin.
Hey there, Dave. How you doing, man?
Everything's good, man. Everything's good. Also with us today is VCU Basketball Hall of Famer, certified life coach, and pastor of Faith and Family Church in Richmond, Virginia, Kelvin Duncan. Welcome to the show, Kelvin.
I am blessed to be on there with KB, my man, Kelvin.
And Robb Crocker, our producer and the host of Robb Unfiltered, a sports podcast, will also be joining the conversation today. What do you say, Robb? You think you can get unfiltered or filtered rather for today's show?
I'm always filtered unless I'm on my other podcast. I try and keep it.
We're going to see what happens then.
I try to keep it clean and filtered.
All right. Today's episode is called How to Play the Game. Here's the pitch. When Kelvin was just a kid discovering his talent for basketball, he wanted to go to the NBA, but no one in his world even knew how to get him to college. They knew how to sell drugs. Kelvin watched and learned from them instead, and he excelled at that game. Kelvin Duncan faced similar personal struggles when he was young and discovering his talent for basketball, but he did get to college and got a draft pick with the NBA for playing with the Chicago Bulls. What made it possible for Kelvin to succeed where Kelvin struggled? And what can we do to help the young Kelvins and the young Kelvins of today learn how to succeed in this game of life? This is Writing Our Way Out, the podcast, episode 9, How to Play the Game. You know, this is definitely a first for our podcast. We have not one, but 2 ball players on the show, and you guys share so much in common, starting with most of the letters of your first names. Only off by 2. And even there, the first one sounds the same. We got Kelvin with a K and Kelvin with a hard C. How do you feel about that, guys? We're off to a good start, right?
Wish he could compare my game to his.
Well, we're going to get into that.
You're so kind. You're so kind, Kelvin. KB, you're so kind, my brother.
We're gonna compare, and we're gonna get into and figure this stuff out. So, Kelvin, let me start with you. When I met you in our writing class at the jail all those years ago, you began by sharing stories of how you slid into the drug game by watching the men around you, and you also watched your mom boosting to get you and your brother the things you needed, and eventually you got put out of high school. John Marshall High School in Richmond, and you just devoted yourself to selling. And after you wrote all those pieces, I asked you when, or maybe if, you chose this way of life. And I know you remember this because you wrote your answer into the book. Can you read that for us?
Well, good evening, everybody. My name's Kelvin Belton, and I'm going to read a part of my writing from the book Writing Our Way Out. This is from the chapter called The Trap, and it speaks on what Dave and I were speaking about, what he was saying, and it made me write this right here. I can't pinpoint a specific moment when I actually made a conscious choice to follow this way of life, but I can clearly remember the public service message that should have caught my attention. The commercial that asked that question: what do you want to be when you grow up? In this 2-minute spot, I saw a policeman, a doctor, and a nurse. I also saw a construction worker, a fireman, a businessman, and a football player. But the thing that caught my attention was that they showed the policeman at the end chasing and catching someone with the announcer saying, "No one wants to be a drug addict when they grow up." If I was told at a young age that I should make goals for myself, I sure don't remember. I never wanted, or should I say I can't remember ever wanting, to be anything normal, like a policeman or a fireman. These are the first goals most kids think of, unless you're like me and reach too high and go for the almost unreachable. I never sat around thinking, I want to grow up to sell drugs, have children out of wedlock, and become a career criminal. I wanted to be a basketball player. It was something about the way Magic Johnson would smile that big smile after every play. It just made me feel like that could be me, but I didn't have anyone, not one person in my life, with the knowledge of what it took to succeed in the sport. To be truthful, I don't think anyone expected me to live long enough to do much of anything in life. Now, for every action, there will be a reaction. It doesn't have to be immediate. But in my case, excuse me, y'all. Well, in my case, I did know more or less right away what would happen. When you piss into the wind, you know you're going to get a wet pant leg. I heard the warnings, but I didn't pay attention to the things Mom told me, or nobody else for that matter. Yeah, I was about to step my happy skinny little butt out of the shower, and who's right there? Ninja Mom. I didn't see a belt, so I was very confused. But once she raised that extension cord, all my confusion went down the drain. Hence, the cord must have been fun for her, or maybe it was the small space of the bathroom, because this beating seemed to last just as long as my shower. I swear she switched hands in the middle, and this never happened with the belt. Needless to say, this ass whooping here kept me straight for a while. But as I got older, the beating slowed down and eventually stopped, as they do with all parents. I know for a fact that my brother and I wore my mom's down. So I guess after she got tired of fighting, she had to let us do us. It's true that I sat upstairs in my room in Brookfield with my drugs. She let people come and see me. Her accepting my ways early on may have played a major role in the way I felt about selling and smoking weed. I guess if she would have told me to stop, I would have. But the fact is, she didn't. So there is no way I can go back and call it any other way than it happened. I was an opportunist. Every time I saw an opportunity to get more, I humped at it. Because of that, I have played a part in destroying the future of many people, which makes me wonder why so many people love me even today. See, being a people person, I really do care, and I often spoke against drugs while I was selling them. To sell a pregnant woman cocaine, whether it's powder-free, base, or crack, always made me feel bad. But to fill up a cup with crushed ice and see her smile when she got that snow cone off my candy truck just warmed my heart.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Kelvin. Okay, Calvin, let's break this down a bit and see if we can find any points of comparison where your story parallels Kelvin's and where it might go in a different direction. In this piece, Kelvin says he does not remember making a conscious choice to sell. He just grabbed the opportunity. He also says he did not remember anyone telling him to make goals or to dream big dreams about what he wanted to do in life. What was it like for you? I know you faced adversity when you were young. I don't know all of what you faced, but I know that before you found basketball, which we're going to get to in a minute, that you had some challenges. I wonder if you could tell us more how you grew up and how you came to see the world and what you struggled with as a kid.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to say thank you guys for giving us this opportunity. And I want to say to Kelvin, KB, as I would call him now, I'm proud of you, bro. Thank you for sharing your story. It takes a lot of courage to do what you do. And believe that your best and brightest days are ahead of you, man. I feel you in my heart, my brother. I feel you in my heart. My situation growing up, actually, I came in this world fighting. When my mother was pregnant, right before she had me, she became sick. And she went to the hospital, and they discovered this woman is sick, but also she has a child. And so she could not deliver me, so they had to C-section me out of her stomach to try to save both of us. Unfortunately, I was born March 21st, 1961. But on the 26th of March, 5 days after I was born, my mother died. Therefore, I was on a hospital bed by myself. My father never came through those doors. And my mother at the time was living with my grandmother down in South Boston, Virginia, Halifax County. And but during the funeral service, my mom, we had some brothers and sisters, the siblings came down. And so my aunt, who was living up in New Jersey, North Jersey, Linden, New Jersey, said, no, there's no way we're going to let Kelvin be adopted. She was the oldest. So at the tender age of 42 years old, she decided to adopt me. And there was growing up in Linden, New Jersey, exit 13 off the turnpike, for those who know anything about North Jersey, North Elizabeth, East Orange, and all those places. And that's where I started to develop, my childhood, seeing things out in the world, living with an aunt, no father. And I didn't have a father to play basketball with. And I began to kind of hang out with some of the wrong people as well. And unfortunately, when you are in an urban area, hanging around, just having fun, see, the thing that I want to say to some of us as kids, the way people may look on the outside, we were having fun. I mean, we having fun. It's fun to play basketball, go to Fourth Ward Park in Linden, New Jersey, and smoke reefer, listen to some music, dance, have a couple of drinks, and just have a good time. Because that's what everybody was like kind of do, what we were doing. But my turning point came when I was 12 years old. At the age of 12, and my story is different, he saw a police officer chasing a criminal, and he was like, yo, I want to be that criminal running away from the police. But what happened was, often I was playing by myself. Back in the day, there was they would call what you call walk the beat. So the cops used to walk the beat. And so this particular police officer, Caucasian, would befriend me. He would come over there and talk to me, and he'll see me throwing the ball by myself. He'll come over there and throw the ball with me. And he told me to stay out of trouble. And he was the one who said, listen, if you want to get involved in sports, why don't you get involved in a police athletic league, which is PAL. All right. I said, okay, but I didn't do it. Why? Because I lived on the side of the tracks I lived on, where the police athletic league building, it was on the other side. And a lot of times, unfortunately, you have beef on the other side of the tracks and all that type of stuff. I went to school number 4. You got the guys from school number 5. And so I was like, man, I don't think I'm going to do it. But there was a dear friend of mine named Richard Starling. His family had a reputation of fighting and being tough. And he was like, yo, I got your back. And as a result, at 12 years old, I began to play basketball at the Police Athletic League. At the time, I wasn't really all that good, but it was a beginning for me. And that's how it all started right there.
Yeah. Kelvin, you want to respond to any of that?
Man, I was well, I don't know how much younger I am than Calvin Duncan, but to be able to be in this Zoom podcast with him is an amazing thing for me. I'm a Richmond guy, and we follow all the guys from this town, so right. I can't speak on his accomplishments and how much he did, but I do know what he did do for this city and how he motivated young guys like me to want to be able to play and to try to make it to where he was.
Wow.
Can I ask you this, though? I mean, like he said, I mean, I know you know what Police Athletic League is, and they have it in Richmond too. And I'm wondering, like, if you had a similar situation where you were invited by somebody, either from PAL or just somebody else who was looking out for you and said, you want to do this, it's a positive thing, I can help you. He wasn't going to do it, but then he did because he had a friend that would help him. Did you ever face a choice like that?
Well, I mean, Dave, right? I went to summer camp with Pal. I went through some of the same experiences as he did. Yeah, I played in a few games. I think it was we played once or twice in Pal. But Dave, like I say in the book, when guys were taking the positive route and following that and doing the right thing, I was the one who was still there, but my mind was on other things, right? I had already been, would you say, initiated to the left.
Right.
So I still was accepted by the guys that play, and I still could play, and I still was around, but my mind wasn't in the right place.
Okay, this brings us to a crucial juncture in both of your stories, and I'm really interested in hearing, Calvin, what you think about this part of it, because I know that this is where there's a fork in the road. In the next part of Kelvin's story, he describes being inspired by Magic Johnson. He wants to get to the NBA, but he says, and I quote, "I had not one person who knew how to make it in this sport." And then he says, most people didn't think I'd live long enough to do much of anything in life. Now, I know you took us up to the part in your story where you got with the Police Athletic League and you're 12 years old and you're developing your feel for the game and you've got like some encouragement. But I know things really changed for you in high school. And could you take us back into that moment? And I know you were facing still the lingering effects of the death of your mother and not really having your father in life. But how did discovering basketball save you as a kid?
All right, first of all, David, I want to make sure you was talking about Kelvin and Magic Johnson.
Yes.
Okay, because my dude was Dr. J. I wanted to make sure that y'all know what's up.
Okay.
Yes. That's right.
Okay. Duly noted. Yes, you're the Dr. J guy. He's the Magic Johnson guy.
Yeah. One of my dear friend, my dear friend Orlando Lamb. He loved Magic Johnson as well. But what was the turning point for me? You said.
Yeah, like how did you get from that 12-year-old kid who was just discovering your feel for the game and you had a few mentors into being the high school kid who actually discovered you could do this and it would keep you on the right path?
There's a guy and I want to share with everybody the reason why I would say white, black, Hispanic, because I want people to see that in this world of humanity where all people count in my life, that have mattered in my life, that's why I bring it up. But there was a guy by the name of Sandy Pione. Sandy Pione is a Jewish guy, a white guy, and he really took a liking in me and just took me around. He had an AAU team. He had some of the best. I mean, Kyrie Irving and Edgar Jones back in the day, Al Harrington, Kid Gilchrist, all those guys up in Jersey that's doing work. Sandy was a part of their life. And so Sandy was a basketball fanatic. and he would just come and pick me up and would just take me different places. We go into tournaments up in New York, US, Brooklyn, USA, Queens, AAA, all of that. And it was just an amazing experience for me to start to develop in my game. But what I discovered is if I wanted to be really good, I had to do more than just play ball in the playground. I had to do more than just play in tournaments. I had to practice. And I recognized that doing drills was something that a lot of kids, young people didn't want to do, because all of us, what do we all want to do? Think about it. You think of gym class. They trying to show us the fundamentals. We don't want to know no fundamentals. Throw the ball out and just let us play. That's what we would always want to do. But I would really hone my skills. And so by me understanding the foundation of really working hard on my skills, that made me a better basketball player. And then I started liking the results. I started liking the results, getting up in the morning, jogging, have a weight jacket on, doing my push-ups in between commercials, shooting jump shots, doing my handles, all of that with the blinders on. And so what happened when I started going out there playing and I started being successful, I was like, this is what I want to do. And as a result, it kept me away from my boys. And I probably will get into that as well, that peer pressure that we grow up. So I don't want to go too far, but that was it. And then I loved Dr. J, watching him play them oohs and ahs. After a while, I started getting a couple of oohs and ahs. I was like, okay. So, and I assume Kelvin did too when he was balling with the fellas out in the city of Richmond.
We're listening to you speak on your story, right? I didn't want to say too much, but when you start talking about people in your life, all that, I must say, I was, if you really want to be truthful, probably the bad apple for real, because when I was young, I didn't have to practice as much to be on the court with the guys, right? My friends were the guys that was playing ball, but I think that I was the guy that you had to stay away from, but I didn't know it. Because, right, it was easy for me to get on the court. From the age of 9, we all played. My best friend, Charles Bennett, moved down here from New York. And this guy, when he got here, was 6'6". We was 13, 12 and 13. And, well, really, I'm not even sure when we were that old, but we all were talented. Everybody that I played with could play, right? And it was not a problem for me to get on the court. But I don't think that, like when you say for AAU and all that stuff, right? I didn't even pay attention to all that stuff. Like I always told Dave, my mind wasn't focused back then, right? Had I been focused, I might not have went through most of the things I did because I was talented in almost everything I did. But basketball was easy, and we had a group of us, and everybody played ball. But I was that one that flunked off the team, and I was that one that had money for all this stuff beforehand, because it was more exciting to me, I guess, to go out and do the things on the street that I found to be easy. I don't know if I'm saying that in the right way, but everything came so easy to me that it wasn't right. I didn't focus on basketball like I should have, right? I didn't know I was talented, because when I look up at folks before me and the guys that's around me, I see all this talent. I'm not looking at myself as a serious basketball player, even though I could play. I was in there with the big dogs playing with them, and I was the skinniest guy in the gym. So,
So you're probably
If you don't mind, I want to just jump in there and say this to KB. KB said in the very beginning, he had no vision.
Mm-hmm.
And see, in this book that also saved my life, the Bible, it talks about where there is no vision, the people perish. See, so not only at this time KB didn't have a vision. So if you don't have a vision, you have no direction of where you're going to go. Because in order to go somewhere, you got to see where you're going.
That's right.
So he had no vision, had no direction. As a result, he wasn't able to reach his potential in something that he was good at. So he decided to do something else just because, and I mean, he could explain why he did what he did. Because I want to hear a piece of his story as far as the incarceration piece, because there is a piece of the penal system that I touched for just a very moment that changed my life as well. So, but I want to make sure that I mention that, and it's real.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I thought his problem was that he followed Magic Johnson instead of Dr. J.
That's what it was. I'm trying to tell him.
All right.
You know what? I'm gonna have to chime in. Really quick. You guys left Elvin Hayes, George Gervin, and Bernard King off the list. Come on. I mean,
hey, look,
they were all in that era too, guys.
You're right, Bob.
One of my friends that I come up playing behind in Richmond, we call him the Iceman. So, I mean, like from my era, those are our guys. So, it's just that Magic just had that smile. So I was a Magic guy, but I like to pass. But passing like Magic got me cut from middle school. Being a tall guy, man, the man said, you defer to people. That's the first time I ever heard of deferring to someone. I was like, okay, I thought you were supposed to pass because Magic make it look good. So that's what I thought you were supposed to do. So, it was just that smile, Rob, man. Like she asked a question in the chat, what made you guys want to play? And when I was like 9 years old, that's when I really paid attention to it. And that smile, man, and to make your teammates better.
It's like the kids at the park now, who when they shoot the ball and they hit the dagger, like Anthony Davis did against the Denver Nuggets, he yelled Kobe.
Yeah.
You shoot the ball and you go Kobe. Like when we were kids, we were going, I'm the Iceman, or I'm Elvin Hayes, I'm Magic, and that transcended and moved into now where people call their shot and they yell Kobe.
Hey, Rob, since you chimed in, can I get you to walk these guys through the process of how anybody, and you can use their stories, how do people get from high school and this first flash of understanding that you got some talent with this into college, into a real organization like VCU Rams basketball, and then into the NBA? Like, what's the process?
Well, and I think Kelvin can speak to this very well, but I know I've always said that. And Dave, you brought up crossroads and fork in the road earlier. We have so many forks in the road in our life. It's not just that one moment, but it's multiple moments where we can take one fork or the other, and that might push you in a direction where you end up being incarcerated, or you end up making a grave mistake, or you end up playing for VCU and getting drafted by the Chicago Bulls in 1985. Life is delicate like that with our decision-making process, with who we get behind. I mean, I remember playing sports as a kid, and playing sports as a kid actually kept me probably from doing a lot of dumb stuff. And because my parents were like, you can't play sports if you're not doing the grades, and so on and so forth. But I had a lot of coaches too that influenced my life, whether it was good or bad. I mean, I still remember the very first soccer coach I had. I remember coaches yelling at us at football, but I also remember some of the life lessons that we learned in the locker room and on the field and on the courts, where these are things that stuck with us for a long time. And, I think most boys in America at one point or another in their lives are like, I want to be a professional, choose your sport. I wanted to end up playing in the NFL, and obviously that did not happen. But yeah, so again, I bring it back to like decisions and also the support of people. And Calvin's got a great story about how, and I'm going to try and lead him into this, about the folks that adopted him when he moved to Virginia and took care of him, and the grace that they used and the love that they showed him. And this was a very unlikely story, but Kelvin was really lucky to have folks that intervened and got into his life and told him, you can do this. And I think that's a big part of the aspect. And I think Kelvin, brings up that, he didn't have someone saying, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. You got to keep your grades up, and, Kelvin, you've talked about it, how, you saw the big players in the neighborhood when you were a kid and you're like, well, I don't want to be a drug dealer, but look at this money. Look at this. Look at this position that they have in the ranks of the neighborhood.
Well, Rob, I gotta tell the truth. My best friend named Charles Bennett. He moved down here from New York, and I had him right beside me. And while he was taking the steps that I could have taken with him, I didn't. I was right there at the All Metro practices, and I was there right before they went to go play against Alonzo Moore and all them. I played against guys that was there, right? I practiced with and I played with, and I met his mentor, right? But I never looked at the fact that I didn't have one. I never paid attention to that, I guess, because the same way I looked at these guys as superior with their game, right? I guess I figured that was meant for them and not for me. It may have played a part in the road I took, and it may have played a part in my mentality when it came to whether or not I could have made it or not. But when I sit and I listen to a lot of things since we come up with this topic, right, I just have to keep going back to the fact that I had the opportunities, but I didn't know they were there. I didn't know because, like, the same way that Dave asked, well, why didn't I have these opportunities, right? They were there, but if I did, right, I had nobody to say, well, Kevin, this is how you do that. Because, it took me until recently to realize that I was recruited by the Navy to play, if not playing for the college. They said I could go to college. They wanted me to play. I didn't know that it was set up for guys like me to play myself up and to get that right. So I didn't go. So, the opportunities were there, but I just didn't really know, not being focused and not understanding.
Well, it's admirable for you to put it on you, but I remember what Kelvin said about the coach, that nice man who took him around all the tournaments and really put extra time in. And also I'm interested in, and my curiosity is piqued actually at what Robb said about the family that adopted Kelvin in his time of need. And really, those are two mentors right there. Kelvin, could you speak into that so we could hear more about what happened with you, especially with the family that Robb mentioned?
Yes. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go in chronological order because I want to make sure that I do mention this experience. I want to make sure that is the case. And I just want to say this once again, and I mean this in my heart. I really am humble, and I'm not saying this to make Kelvin feel good, but I'm really humbled to be on here with him because of this. And I'm not trying to make myself sound tough or gangster, but it's like the road that he took, I could have took, that could have been me, and he could have been me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes in life, it's the little things that makes a big difference. And so that's why I don't like arrogant people. I don't like people who, forget where they come from and forget those that they so-called left behind. Because you could have been the one that could have got caught doing something and your whole circumstances could have changed. And so if he maybe knew a Sandy Pione and some other people and then had some more reinforcement with his friend Bennett and some others, it could have been different. So I just want to say that a life-changing experience for me as I go into Mr. and Mrs. Eisner, like what Robb mentioned, was when I was in the 10th grade, 10th or 11th, 10th grade, 9th grade or 10th grade, something like that. And there was a guy by the name of Pete Coleman, who was one of the brothers in the hood, who he worked at Roy State Prison, and he was one of the security guards. And so what they would do is every year, or like, you know, every 9 months or so, the inmates who was on good behavior could play against the guys on the outside.
Mm.
And so Pete said, man, I got some of my boys from Linden, man, to work to y'all brothers. And so we got everything. He came and got a lot of us, right? And we went to Rawway Prison. That experience changed my life.
I bet.
That took the gangster out of CD. Ain't no gang. I ain't no gangster. I ain't no real gangster.
No.
I can try to act like it.
Yeah.
But when I'm gonna tell you what happened. We got off the van, and for those who know about Rawway Prison, you know it's renowned for just some of the hardest criminals around. And at that time, I believe it was right around the time Hurricane Carter. That story about Hurricane Carter was out and all of that. And we got off that van, and they start, you know, it's a long corridor, long yard. We start walking towards them gates. Boy, it wasn't until we got up in there and they, you know, had to stamp you and, you know, this ultraviolet rays, and then close the door, boom, another door, boom, 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 boom. Woo! I said, I'm in the real deal. This ain't no television. This the real deal. And then when we got up in there, the way Rawway is, you could be walking and the inmates, it's like light levels. So they could see down who's coming. Some of those brothers were saying, yeah, that's right. Ooh, look at that one right there. Yeah. Man. Woo! I took everything in me not to turn around like the lion in the Wizard of Oz. Jump out the window and say, I can't do this. But you know what? It was the best experience of my life, because when I went in there and we played, you know, these are the guys on good behavior. I mean, they was competitive. It was cool. You know, they said, young boy, you don't want to come in here, blah, blah, blah. You know, gave us a little talk. That was part of it. It was almost like Scared Straight, if y'all remember the story back in the day. But we played, we competed. And when I left there were several things. Number one, I said, I don't never want to go to prison. Even though I might just still did some stupid stuff, but I ain't trying to do that. Number two, if I could go to prison and play against these guys from Rawway, I ain't scared of nobody. You know, so it gave me a confidence that I'm gonna compete against anybody, because that was a tough situation. So that was a turning point in my life as well. And then when I went to Oak Hill Academy, the story is this, KB, is my aunt who raised me, who adopted me, had a stroke and she died. So therefore, I was on my own with a basketball, a dream in basketball. Took the placement test, and they was going to send an Oak Hill Academy, for those who, you know, to make sure y'all hear me very good. Took a placement test and flunked it. Had a 4th grade reading level. But Mr. and Mrs. Eisner, 2 white people, Mr. Eisner from the hills of West Virginia and Mrs. Eisner from the Tobacco Road country of North Kakalaki, North Carolina, they saw something in me. And this is what I want to say. That's why right now I dedicate my life not only as a pastor, but as a life coach, because I see stuff in people that they don't see in themselves. Because they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I didn't think I could do the schoolwork. I didn't think I could be a good student. I didn't think I could learn how to read well. But they stayed on me, and I had to repeat the 11th grade. And as a result, long story short, Oak Hill Academy, 61-1. I didn't realize that what I was a part of. Hey, KB, you gonna like this, bro. My career high in high school at Oak Hill was 61, and that was without the 3-point line. All right.
Oh, I know that much. The 3-point line came on like 1983, 84, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Messed around and got a triple double. You know what? I want to chime in really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
When we talk about mentors, I'm lucky enough. I've had a lot of mentors in my life, and I found more mentors later in life, which is, kind of odd or backwards. But, and Dave doesn't, Dave's a humble guy. Dave doesn't realize that he's mentoring me. He's been mentoring me for the past couple of years. I know Kelvin, Dave has been responsible for mentoring you and the other co-authors of the book. And Kelvin, I've come and talked to you a couple times as well. We've had phone conversations, and my point is, it's never too late to get a mentor to help you learn how to play the game, whether it's the game of basketball or the game of life.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I'm very lucky to have a lot of folks at the Virginia Commonwealth University, as I point out in my shirt, who have been mentors to me, like Professor Jeff South, like Dave, like Professor Wilma Wirt. There are a bunch of people. It's one of those, like, I can't say enough names. I'm going to get walked off on the Oscar, the Oscar acceptance. But my point is that there's people out there that help you and care about you, and you can find these people throughout your life. It's not just when you're coming up as a young buck. I mean, we make mistakes in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. We are a flawed piece of clay that just makes a lot, is susceptible to mistakes and misjudgments. And there's people out there that can help us.
In fact, I know for a fact that JB has done a lot of that, mentoring with the Blacktop Kings of Queens with his buddy Manny Harris. And I know, Kelvin, you've done the same in basketball camps and, of course, through your church. And I wanted to ask the both of you, as we close out the show tonight, if you can reflect a little bit more on how mentoring works, how you can teach people to play not just the game of basketball, but the game of life. And Kelvin, I want to start with you, because I watched one of your old speeches or pep talks, I guess, for basketball camp, and you talked about the 5 Ds. And you mentioned a few of them tonight in your comments earlier. Could you share with us what the 5 Ds are? I know it's not defense, because we're not talking about basketball. We're talking about life. Defense might come later when you talk about the game, but tell us about the 5 Ds for life.
Okay, I'm gonna trademark this, since these days everybody, they take your stuff, but I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you anyway, because it's in my spirit, and if somebody can benefit from it, that's fine. The 5 Ds in life is, number 1, the first D is you got to have a dream. You got to have a dream, and that's what I was saying about Kelvin, KB. What is a dream? A dream is a vision. You got to have a vision in order to know where you want to go. All right. Number 2, you got to have a desire. You got to have a desire to reach your dream. You got to have a desire to reach your goal, a desire to reach your vision. See, you got to have a desire that is greater than some other things that may come your way. Number 3, you got to have determination. You got to have determination. See, here's the deal. All of us have had a desire to do something good. All of us had a desire to do something great. But what happens is life happens. And when life happens, it becomes an obstacle. It becomes a trial. It becomes a tribulation. It becomes something that is like a roadblock that stops you. So you got to have more than just desire. So I like to say it like this. When desire runs out, you got to now have determination as your second win. And all of us know about a second win when you're working out, whether it's playing basketball or anything, you're jogging, you're jogging, you get tired, but it's something you call a second win. And when that second win kicks in, what it does, it kicks over those adversities. It goes over those walls, and now you're in another dimension. You got to have determination to reach your goals. And then number 4, you got to have discipline. Discipline. And I want to be the first to say to you that discipline for me as an athlete, as a younger person, seemed to be more easier than discipline now, because I got this thing called ice cream. I got this thing called carrot cake over there. Oh my goodness. And I ain't disciplined. I'm eating that stuff like, oh my goodness. But you hear me? Alyssa said, yeah, I got you, brother. But see, what is discipline? Discipline, in layman's term, is simply a system of doing things. That's all it is. It's a system of doing things. Every day, ladies and gentlemen, we exercise discipline in some form or fashion. How? When we go to the bathroom, you wash your face, brush your teeth, that's doing something over and over again. That's discipline. So here's what you got. You have a dream, you have desire, you have determination, then you have discipline. That means you got to do it over and over and over again. The way I was able to shoot this jump shot in KB's face is because I just kept doing this over and over, and that's how you get better. And then lastly, hey, KB, I know you probably blocked my shot, man.
I play that defense too, Calvin. I still got it. I'm just letting you know.
Right. Okay, and you're younger than me too, so I'm gonna watch myself.
Right.
And the 5th thing is this. So you got a dream, you got a desire, you got dedication, and you have discipline. Determination, discipline, and lastly, it leads to your destiny.
Okay.
Your destination. Where is it that you want to go? From point A to point B. It's not going to be easy. You have to understand that you have to go through your pain to get to your promise. Mm-hmm. So you start off with a dream, and then somewhere along that time, somewhere along that road, there's going to be some pain. And that pain going to be tough. That pain going to hurt. That pain is not going to feel good. That pain may make you feel alone. But once you get over that to your promise, you're where you want to be. Yeah. And KB, keep doing what you're doing, my man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cab.
You want to respond to that, KB? Your
yes, sir, I do. First thing foremost, right, I want to say to everybody watching, if y'all want the perfect roadmap for to get your child to be somewhere, you have the yin and the yang. You have what comes from being focused and what comes from not being focused. I work with somebody who I help kids now work with that focus that I didn't have. That training that I didn't want to do that Calvin spoke on so much, right? I preach it now. I let everybody know I'm not at Blacktop right now, but I'm there spiritually. The man that calls me, I'm there. So you have the perfect roadmap to making your way in the right way or doing your own thing and going in the wrong. But I do want to speak on something because Calvin asked a question about incarceration, right? And, when you're hard-headed, nothing changes when you're not focused. Mm. And like Robb said, it took my incarceration story, Calvin, what I would give you is I spent quarter of my life, well, not a quarter, but a tenth of my life locked up. I was never scared of anything. It never scared me going back and forth. And it never taught me anything. But I kept getting locked up and locked up and locked up until, like Robb said, I met that person that was going to help me change so I can give back. That person was Dave. that movement was me writing in this book. That helped me be focused. That helped me to give back to the kids like you do. I'm not a pastor, but I am very good with kids, right? And I know that game from watching guys like you, from learning from guys like Charles Bennett, Daryl Alexander. My friends that when I came up with, that's what I teach. Well, I don't teach what I do. I teach what I learned, what I played against, who I watched. So, I give back now because I didn't give positive then. And, right, I want to thank you for motivating me today to stay on the path I'm on, because I feel like that we've been through such a standstill, not being able to do certain things that make you miss some of the positive things you've done. But sitting there listening to what we're doing today and realizing that I can still help give is helped me. So thank y'all. And Dave, Robb, thank y'all for a wonderful podcast.
Hey.
And I didn't know Alyssa was on here.
Alyssa.
Yes, hi, I've been in the background.
Right.
Hey, Dave. David and Robb. I just want to say this to my precious brother, that let's make sure, let's connect. And if Brother Manning, my man Manning, if you guys need me to come over there and chit chat, then also I have a dear friend named Rolando Lamb. He's also a coach, a character coach. That's his claim to fame. And we can come there and help out. We would. And then I do want to say this too, and for those that are listening, I don't want them to get me wrong on this, but it's cool. I'm blessed and I'm thankful to be a pastor. But before I was a pastor, I was Kelvin Duncan, and I was a sinner in need of a savior. And I don't have to be a pastor in order to touch somebody's life. But what I have learned to do, is just like in basketball, you have a playbook. I've learned in life to have a playbook, the playbook of life, the Bible, the basic instruction before leaving earth, and do my best, because I ain't sitting here perfect, striving to be the best I can be, and so this right here is part of what I do. I believe in it. I believe in helping people. And so I want to say, man, you're qualified to speak into people's lives through your experience, and that your story and my story is on the same level to be able to touch lives. So I want you to be encouraged. And for those that would like to get in touch with me in the area of my life coaching and just encouraging people, you could go to calvinaduncan.com. That's my website, calvinaduncan.com. The A is for always shooting the ball. No, I'm joking. No, that's my first. You like that, right? That's my first name.
Yeah, I like that one.
Hey, Kelvin, can you relay a message to Coach Lamb for me? I'm still upset that Jeremy didn't play at VCU, so just let him know I'm still upset about that.
I would definitely do that, but it's a good story behind that. His son really blew up over summer, and the next thing you know, all the big boys was hitting him, and he made a decision. And actually, Jeremy is one of my mentees as well. So,
folks who don't know, Jeremy Lamb is a son of Rolando Lamb, who's a VCU basketball legend as well, and his son played at UConn and now plays for the Indiana Pacers.
Yes, yeah, Rolando's a great guy. But like I said, for you guys who, if you want to get in contact with me, go to calvinaduncan.com. Check out my website. Matter of fact, there's an interview with Jeremy and I on that, and we'll be able to connect, okay? But I don't know, I guess just the outro, I want to thank Alyssa. I want to thank David. I want to thank Robb. And I want to thank the star of this show is Kelvin Belton, because the road that he traveled, and for him to come out and be doing what he's doing now is admirable. And he needs our support. You got my support, my brother. God bless you, man. Let's get in touch with each other when it's over, okay?
Yes, sir, Kelvin. Thank you, Mr. Duncan. And please allow me to call you Mr. Duncan. Please allow me that.
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir.
Oh, you guys. All right, look, thank you
brother.
so much for that outro. You did half my job for me already, Kelvin.
Oh, no.
Thank you for coming on the show. I was going to remind people you are the pastor of Faith and Family Church and a certified life coach and a VCU Basketball Hall of Famer, and I was going to thank Kelvin. Let me thank you, Kelvin. Thank you for being on the show. Kelvin Belton is one of the authors of Writing Our Way Out, Memoirs from Jail. This show is also available on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, and I hope you'll go there to Apple and subscribe and leave us a comment. You can also find the show on our website, writingourwayout.com. And each show we will hope to answer your questions and comments. So leave us comments and questions. We would love to hear from you. This show is also available through us on Twitter and Facebook. You can reach us on Twitter and Facebook and on Instagram under the book title, writingourwayout.com. That's another way to connect with us and tell us what you're thinking. The theme music for the show is produced by Chris Coogan. That's right, my brother, Chris Coogan. You can also learn more about him at cooganmusic.com. The show is produced by Robb Crocker, a PhD student in media, art, text at Commonwealth University. Robb, do you want to tell people what's coming up tomorrow night?
Yeah, we've got quite a following going on right now on Facebook. We're buzzing. So Kelvin has been nice enough to let me borrow him again tomorrow evening, and we're going to be on a Robertson School of Culture and Media at VCU. It's the Mass Communication School. Is doing an event tomorrow night. We're holding a panel on race, media, and the 2020 election. And Kelvin was gracious enough to be a member of that panel. There's also going to be Danita Green and Elliot Robinson, Kim Greenwich, and Willis, all who are journalists or civic-minded folks are going to be involved in the show. It's going to be a panel. It's from 5 to 6:30. You can find it on VCU's Robertson School page on their Facebook page. And we hope that you all check that out, because we're going to be talking about some very important things with the election and race and all of our social issues that are going on in this country.
Hey, that's awesome. And I'm glad you got Danita Green. Danita Green is actually going to be on our next show. Next time on Writing Our Way Out, the podcast, October 19th at 7 o'clock, the prison of white supremacy. After the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis, protests against police brutality in Richmond targeted the monuments of the Confederacy. Most were spray painted with anti-racist messages, and some were toppled. And then most were officially removed, drawing large and diverse crowds eager to be set free from the prison of white supremacy. Now that these symbolic prison doors have opened, what will happen next? Will this challenge the public narrative about the past? Will we see racial justice change? That's next time on Writing Our Way Out, the podcast.